Here we go.
Welcome back to Nintendo Land, everybody. Now, this next video up is something that's very interesting and something that caught, I think, everybody in the world by surprise. We all kind of expected one big game. I thought it was either going to be Pikmin 4 or Mario Odyssey 2, but no, they went a route that I literally put in the back of my brain and told myself not to think about because I'd get too happy. It's Breath of the Wild 2. And that's literally what it's probably going to be, as we know that this is the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. But what is going on in this trailer? What is happening? What is the story? How is this going to continue on? Well, we're going to dive deep into the whole thing and try to make up some type of, summary as to what this next game is going to be and what it's going to entail. So without further ado, let's get started. So the trailer starts off by showing us these little green lines of mist or something floating in the sky, and they look like they're trying to spell out words, maybe in that Sheikah Hylian text. But we see the words start to wrap around this pillar, and what's really interesting is it is all coming from one source, which we'll get to in a minute. But out of the source, we see Ganon corruption, and it's coming straight from the pillar as well, as it's going through the source and coming out into the entire room, which I still don't really know what's going on with all these different things happening at once. We then get to see the spiral again from an overhead view, and it looks as if the spiral is sending out the Ganon corruption as it's moving away from the object. Now we get to see Link and Zelda together, which is really interesting because they never really get to be together. It's always Link saving Zelda, but they're traversing this cave together while Link is leading the way and Zelda's riding some type of bull animal which also has luggage all over it, as if they've been traversing this for many days. Link and Zelda finally come up to the figure, and it looks to be some type of decayed woman laid back, and that green lines with the words in them stretches down to a hand which is actually holding the woman by her chest as she's barely held up. Now once again, this is not confirmed to be a woman, it just has really long hair. It could be a guy that's just been there for multiple years. It almost looks like as if this hand is draining the life force from her and the Ganon corruption is just pouring out of her. Looking at the characters, once again, Link still homes the Master Sword, while Zelda still looks the same as well, but just having a shorter haircut. We then go back to a scene which seems to be right before they find this figure, where they stopped along their way to get some water as the animal drinks out of the lake and Zelda kind of washes her face while Link goes through some of his bags. This is a cool little scene, and we see some of the stalagmites and rocks that we found in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, so this is a cool little throwback to that. The corruption then proceeds to grow stronger as it takes over a rat, but what's really interesting is if you look at the steps and the walls here, it looks very similar to the caves in the dungeon area beneath the castle. We then go on to see Link and Zelda trying to make their way across a bridge that looks like it's crumbling and decaying, but now this is where things start to take a weird turn. We then get another look at the figure, and once again, the Ganon corruption really does seem to be coming out of her in all sides, all around her, and even up through the pillar, which is still really confusing because what is this green force? So then we get a close-up look of this figure, and it seems to be one of the Sheikah monks, but what's really interesting is all the monks in the original game were male, where this one looks to be really female, as you could look at the body and the rings around her, and just the appearance of her body seems to come off as female. Once again, I could be wrong, but we get a close-up look which really does confirm that it is some type of monk that's been in this cave for perhaps a very long time. Maybe the story is about a monk that was very powerful back in the day, and they imprisoned her for being evil and corrupted, and they kept her in this cave all this time, but something is now trying to let her out, whether it be Ganon's corruption or what have you. Something is trying to free her and awaken her. Getting a close-up of this glowing hand grabbing her chest makes me realize that maybe this green hand is actually keeping her perfectly locked up in this sanctum, and maybe this Ganon corruption is trying to free her. Then it looks as if Link is trying to grab something, but then it falls. Whether he's trying to grab Zelda, or grab the woman, or grab the hand grabbing the woman, whatever he's doing, he has his hand mixed up in that green stuff, and it looks like it's slowly starting to corrupt his hand. It then looks like the Ganon corruption from the monk goes out of control and shoots straight up into the pillar, going all the way up into the ceiling, which eventually probably is going to affect the overground surface. We then see Link and Zelda's hands trying to grab each other as if somebody is falling or she's trying to reach for Link. So I'm wondering if they're going to have any big story with Zelda. Maybe her spirit gets sucked into this monk and she becomes evil, kind of like that Twilight Princess puppet Zelda thing. Or is this a simple scene where Zelda's trying to get picked up by Link and they're both going to be adventuring throughout this whole game together? We then get to see the outside of this cave, which appears to be the outside of the dungeon that Link and Zelda are currently in. So maybe this was a secret dungeon hidden by the monks to keep this monk away from everybody else, but Link and Zelda stumbled upon it because of some leaked corruption that came seeping to the surface, so Zelda went to go find the cause of it all. This may even potentially be underneath the castle somewhere, which would be even more creepier. We then get into something that's really interesting, as Link seems to fall off of something, and that green glowing hand that was holding the monk is now no longer holding her, as if she has vanished, and is now grabbing onto Link's arm to potentially save him. Now, like I said before, this green glow is normally a color of safety in The Legend of Zelda, which means that normally it's either some type of Sheikah technology or some type of, new invention that the Hylians came up with, like the lights to the Guardians as they started off blue and they got corrupted with that red light. So then the question arises is what happened to the monk? Did she just disappear after the corruption flooded? Did she make her way to the surface? Is she plaguing the whole Hylian field again? Is she taking over Hyrule as we know it? We don't know. All we know is that this green hand seems to be helping Link in some sort of way. Now, as we approach the end of the trailer, we get to see the light flash inside the cave, and we see a bigger picture of the monk. We also see a reflection of the hand trying to grab her as if she is slowly escaping the grasp. So, this is still so confusing as we see the corruption line coming from the pillar and the hand grabbing her. It's just, what is going on with this? We then see Zelda fall from a platform, and this is probably when we see Link grab Zelda's hand in order to catch her. The monk does seem to start to awake as the hand starts twitching, and Zelda gets spooked as she turns around really quickly to see the monster start to awaken. We then see the monk lean back, turn her head viciously, and her eyes open up, as if she is now awakened. The room no longer has that green glow from the hand, but instead the room is now corrupted in this red glow that looks to be, once again, all thanks to Ganon. Now, trying to piece this story together is going to be tough. As we look at this weird figure that we have never seen before, we really don't know where they're trying to go with this or what route they're going to take with the story. But I think I might have a hint in something that might make a little sense here. Now, here's where I'm thinking they're trying to go with this story. So there was once a monk that was very evil and corrupted, and all of the monks got together to put her into banishment. They hid her underneath the ground in some sanctuary and guarded by this green glowing hand that kept her imprisoned. But something happened to free her. What happened? Calamity Ganon. So in Breath of the Wild, Calamity Ganon was defeated, but there still could have been corruption in some of his baddies all over the earth. And what happened is some of that calamity got inside of this tomb and tried to awaken this evil monk. Since Ganon can only plague Hyrule once every millennium, this was his last chance to get back at the Hylians and to conquer Hyrule. So he gets to this monk, takes control of her body, and creates havoc over Hyrule once again with this very powerful figure. We don't know how powerful she is and what threat she brings to Hyrule, but it must be something serious if Ganon goes to her as his last resort. Now, once again, this is all speculation. There's no confirmation, but this is just something that I've been thinking about, and it may tie into the story. I have a lot of big theories about where they're going to go with this world and everything, but that will be in a separate video. But before we wrap this up, let's look at the overworld at the very end of the trailer. So we get another look at Hyrule, and it looks to be the same exact Hyrule from Breath of the Wild 1, but it doesn't look all as detailed as in the background, as if this world isn't going to be used. This is just for a cutscene. As we can see the Great Plateau, we can see the mountains in the back, the volcano, but then we see Hyrule Castle, and it's starting to rise up in the air. Something beneath it is coming out. Trying to zoom in and get a best look we can is really hard, but as close as we look, it looks as if some type of tentacles or legs are coming out underneath the castle, as if it's about to carry the castle somewhere new. This is weird, and I really don't know what they're going to do with this. Are they going to keep the same overworld? Wouldn't that be kind of boring if you've already explored it? And I just don't know what they're going to do with that. But I think I might have an idea. They might go through some type of time travel or different periods of the time with that green hand. It looks like some type of teleportation warp type of, aura. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. That's just some speculation because I have no clue where they're going to take this. They're obviously using the same engine. But where is this story going to go this time? So I don't know when this is going to drop. I'm expecting in about 2 years. This is early development. I probably won't expect to see this until 2021, the earliest. And yeah, it's going to be an amazing game, an amazing sequel. Since they already have the same engine using again, clearly, I can't wait to see what they got going on here. And they might surprise us and drop this next year sometime around holiday season. But let me know, guys, in the comments down below what you think of this trailer. Are you excited to play? Well, I'm not even asking you. Of course you're excited. Just how excited are you? What do you want to see out of this story, and what are you most excited for? Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.